I can certainly call the OnePlus is the only smartphone maker in the world that actually learns from mistakes. Year by year, its products are getting better and better, and the difference between the flagship killer and the real flagship is less noticeable. Today, our topic is the company's new smartphone, OnePlus 3. Let's find out if this one can act as a real alternative to A brand's products. The main drawback of the pilot OnePlus One was a plastic case and the lack of design. Its successor made the situation a little bit better, and our today's guest totally solved this problem. The design solutions used in OnePlus 3 are somewhere already seen, but in total the device doesn't look like a copy of the other more famous brand's products. The smartphone's back is completely made of aluminum. Most of it is anodized and toned in a dark grey color. I think it's bad because sooner or later the paint will start peeling off or at least rubbing off, and probably it won't look nice. The second and final design mistake is a camera bump. For example, in Mi 5 it is the same level as body, and here it is more than a millimeter higher and has a polished frame, which by the way immediately starts collecting scratches. Look, if it is so hard to hide the camera, well, make a bigger body and install a bigger battery, or try to fit everything inside. Long story short, such camera style is not a pleasant trifle. Fortunately, this is the last bad news for today. The body is curved and very narrow at the edges. Because of that, smartphone looks much thinner and elegant in hand than it actually is. All audio inputs and outputs with the USB Type-C port are at the bottom of the body, and a fingerprint scanner is built in the home button at the front panel. Sounds great, isn't it? In addition, there is a pretty notification mode trigger. It is made in a similar way to the iPhone, only with 3 positions instead of 2. The first one stands for all sound notification, the second only for the most important, and the third is completely mute mode. You probably know that annoying feeling when a fingerprint scanner doesn't define at all or identify your finger for a long time. OnePlus were determined not to use a scanner just for fun, and made a great effort to install the most nimble fingerprint scanner which I had to use recently. It didn't recognize me only a couple of times during testing, despite the numerous noises such as dust on my fingers and sweaty hands, so typical for summer. Definitely, it is one of the best scanners I've ever used. Furthermore, it is always in a standby mode, so if you simply touch it, the phone instantly unlocks. The body quality brings only positive emotions. There are no gaps between parts, no dangling and no pitch play. Metal shaping's done well, and the front panel glass has rounded edges and covered with a high quality oleophobic coat. Indeed, everything is perfectly secured. We have to admit that gadget's ergonomics is quite poor, which is not surprising because the body is pretty big. Using the device with one hand won't be convenient for everybody, and there is a risk of dropping the smartphone while writing SMS on the go. The screen of OnePlus 3 is a 5.5 1080p AMOLED matrix. It has only 2 drawbacks. At first, sharp-eyed people will notice red dots along the font outline on the white background and other shortcomings of the pentile subpixels topology. And the second one is the colors that are oversaturated and their range is pretty poor. Yet the manufacturer added sRGB mode support to the firmware. Images are quite clear and pictures or red dots are not visible unless you have an eagle eye. The range of brightness is amazing. Upper and lower limits ensure a comfortable smartphone control either under a bright summer sun or inside a dark basement. The viewing angles are generally perfect, except the thing that under a really sweeping glance the disadvantages of anti-glare layer can be seen. I mean, white color becomes greenish blue and the picture just faded. But let's be honest, in daily use this drawback won't disturb you at all. Among the cool features we picked out the white balance settings available from the box and ambient display, which can be set to show notifications both in time you get once and after you swap a palm over the screen. Hardware in the OnePlus flagship is excellent as always. It's got the Qualcomm Snapdragon 820 processor, Adreno 530 graphics, 6 GB of RAM and 64 GB of storage. Speaking about RAM, it is really hard to fill in all 6 GB completely. Minimum 3 are almost always free, and besides, Android immediately puts to sleep all inactive applications. So it looks like that range of RAM memory is not needed here, and at least 1/3 of it is almost never active. OnePlus promised to change this situation for better and increase the number of applications in the background, but I think this will have a negative negative impact on energy consumption. Getting back to efficiency. System interface and any application responds to your actions so quickly that by touching the icon on the menu, you do not always realize what had happened and where did you get. This creates a very pleasant and strange feeling that smartphone thinks out much faster than its owner. No complaints also for the gaming performance. World of Tanks at maximum graphics settings works on deadly 60 or in the worst case 58 FPS. Other hard-driving games act at high graphics without any blunt. As for heating, OnePlus 3 stands still. Even in hot conditions, it is just warm regarding to summer's 30 degrees. Yes, the heating is pretty rapid, but not much in terms of degrees, and the throttling here is not too fierce. The smartphone works surprisingly quick even in the heating state. Autonomy is also remarkable. Half an hour of tanks eats about 10% of the battery, which is a very nice result. In real life, the smartphone stays alive a day and a half in active use and 4 or 5 days with only a few simple phone calls. In addition, the technology of fast charging fills the battery from 0 to 65% in half an hour and 90% in 1 hour. Of course, the last 10% take a lot of time to fill in, but the remaining 90% goes much easier. Overall, the result is pretty impressive for 3000 mAh battery. The camera works very nice. The photos of the same view were shot several times and almost always results in the same set were identical. There were no differences in areas of white balance or sharpness, and only few blurred photos were found during the night or indoors. The software itself works really great. Focus and auto HDR operate brilliantly. Noise reduction as always here, but it doesn't aggressive at all. The background without lights and shades obviously becomes greasy, but it doesn't turn into an oil painting as we see in many of the OnePlus competitors. The speed of taking photos is bloody high, which is actually very important while capturing the right information or sightseeing without taking somebody's dust or decoration from the conversation. Pictures taken at night don't look perfect but are pretty nice. As for smartphone, 4K video is sharp, but a lot of strange crap happens when light changes. In addition, the camera shoots panoramas and has a manual mode. There are not a lot of settings there in spite of exposure and focus, but less is better than nothing. The quality and the volume of single speaker demonstrate the manufacturer's care about its customers. The volume is high enough to hear your ringtone in noisy street and use it as alarm clock, even for the neighbors. And yet, no creaks at maximum, the sound is very clear and nice. This is indeed the loudest and melodious speaker among all smartphones of 2016. The sound in headphones was not the best, so almost immediately I installed the custom player because Mi Quanti works well with OnePlus 3, but Mi headphones sounded a bit worse. In general, this problem solves easily, but unfortunately there are no built-in tools for that. Still, the sound is very soft and pleasant. A few words about the software. Originally, smartphone comes with Oxygen OS, but as we know, in addition, a lot of different custom firmwares will be available for OnePlus 3. The stock Oxygen is almost like pure Android, but with a few differences in settings. You can also change the theme of system menus to the black and paint icons in any color pleasant to your eyes. There is a night display mode, which is also very cool. Among all interface changes, it is important to mention a shelf desktop which can be filled with different widgets. Interesting thing, but I personally do not use it too much. There are desktop settings like gestures to access the notification panel and search, as well as enabling and disabling shelf function. Moreover, it is possible to activate soft keys like in Nexus series. And gestures of waking up are also here and work excellent. In the end, I'd like to tell you that at first I was very skeptical about the OnePlus 3, and this smartphone did not seem to be interesting for me, but during testing I became more and more inspired by it. Yet the OnePlus 3 can easily be called the most balanced gadget of 2016. If you want a smartphone with a full set of everything you need and you have $450, do not hesitate to take the OnePlus 3, because this guy really works out every cent embedded in it.